What's up YouTube? This is Papercan. Welcome back to my Dwarf Fortress tutorial. This is episode number 9. The first thing I want to show you is how to use your brand new Butcher's and Tanner's Workshop. But first we are going to have to explore a menu that we've never been in before. It is the status menu. So the hotkey for that is Z. And now that we're in there, we can see that it gives us a breakdown of our population and food stores. It also has a spot for created wealth and trade information, and we would have that information if we had a broker and a bookkeeper. You can also see that on some of the numbers here there are question marks after them because these are not exactly how much of that item that we have. We need a bookkeeper to keep accurate records of those. But you can see this menu also has a couple tabs on the top. The first one is animals, so if we hit return on that tab, you can see that we have a list of all our animals. If I hit escape and go right, there's a kitchen tab, and under this menu we have all the ingredients that can be cooked and brewed, and you can choose whether or not they should be. So this is handy if you're running out of a certain type of seed. You do not want them to be cooked, so you can disable that. You also have the stone menu. This is handy if you want to restrict certain types of stone. And then the very last one is the stocks menu, and it's basically a entire inventory of what you have. Although it's not very useful because, as we said, we're going to need a bookkeeper for accurate counts. So let's go ahead and go to the animals tab. And this is how we're going to designate certain animals to be butchered. Now there is an event that can happen in Dwarf Fortress, and that is called the Catsplosion. And what that is when you have so many cats that your frame rate just drops and there's nothing you can do about it. As you can see, we started with 2 cats. We already have 5 kittens, so you can imagine if those kittens made 5 more kittens each, and so on and so forth. Every once in a while you're going to need to butcher some cats, which is fine because from the perspective of a dwarf, a pork chop and a cat chop is not too different. So let's go to the stray cat here and hit B for slaughter. You can see that on the bottom right. I'm also going to go ahead and get the other cat. Let's hit escape and unpause the game. And I'm going to hit U here, pull up our units, and you can see that our butcher already has the job designation of slaughter animal. And there he is. He's taken his first cat to the butcher's workshop. Going in there, and bam, stray cat has been slaughtered. Now let's go ahead and hit T, which is view items in buildings. And go over to this workshop here. You can see that among other things, there is a stray cat skull, cat fat, stray cat skin, cat meat, and stray cat bone. And now he has just grabbed the hide. Let's hit T. As you can see, the stray cat skin is now in the tanner's workshop, and he's turning that into leather. And as you can see, this whole process was automatic. All we had to do was designate the animal to be butchered, and the butcher brought it to the butcher's workshop by himself and then brought it to the tanner's workshop. And now we just talked about needing a broker and a bookkeeper. But how we find out where these special dwarves are is N. They are nobles. So let's hit N, and you can see that we already have our expedition leader at the top, Asen Rissenetsen. On the very right it says demand and mandate, which are grayed out, indicating that there are no demands and no mandates for this job position at the moment. Under that is the militia commander, the sheriff, hammer, manager, chief medical dwarf, broker, and bookkeeper. Now for the broker, let's open up our dwarf therapist here. We're going to go under the social tab and see who has the highest appraiser skill, because that is the most important aspect of the broker job. And it looks like this guy, Unib, he's the only one that has any skill in appraiser. So he is most likely going to be our broker. And how we're going to assign that is we're going to go to the broker here in the nobles menu, hit enter, and here's Unib right here. He's also a carpenter, but I think we'll be alright. Shows the relevant skills on the right there. Shows that he's a novice appraiser. And we're going to hit enter, and now we have a broker. Now let's see if we have anyone with any bookkeeping skill. Record keeping. Actually, Unib also has a bit of record keeping skill. So this is not a problem. He can do both jobs. There we are. And you can see that on the right of this menu of his name here, it does have a requirement. So let's go ahead and hit enter. It says that his holdings, he needs to have a meager quarters and an office. Right now he has no office. It's easy to create one. All you need is a chair. I've actually already gone ahead and mined out a somewhat bigger bedroom. So there's a bed in there, there's a table and a chair. A table is not required, but what will end up happening is the noble that's using the office, using the chair in the office, will sometimes decide to eat in there. And if there's no table, then he's going to get a bad thought. So it's best just to put a table with the chair. Okay, I have just assigned this room over here as a bedroom. Also, we have our table and chair here, and you can see if we hit Q and hover over the chair, we can make a throne room or a study. So let's go ahead and hit R on that. And resize it. And hit enter. And I'm going to assign the chair to Unib. And I'm actually going to assign this bed to Unib as well. Let's go back into the nobles menu, and you can see that the required over on the right is no longer red, so they have been fulfilled. And now we have a broker and a bookkeeper. There's one more thing we need to do in the nobles menu. Under bookkeeper, if we hit S for settings, you can see that you have an option as to the amount of precision that he's going to count. Now the highest precision basically means that all your counts will be accurate, but your bookkeeper is not going to have time for anything else except counting. So we're going to go ahead and stick with a medium precision for now, until we can find a dedicated bookkeeper. Alright, and the last thing I want to do in this episode is get a trade depot built so that our broker will have something to do when the next caravan shows up. Building a trade depot is very easy. We're just going to hit B for buildings, and then trade depot is capital D. And I'm going to go ahead and build it right here for now. And we're going to build it out of siltstone blocks like everything else. But another thing that the trade depot requires, along with some other buildings, is the architecture labor preference enabled. So let's go ahead and go to our dwarf therapist, and I'm going to enable architecture for Asen Rissenetsen. Alright, there she goes. She just dropped off the materials. And now a mason will come and finish up the building. Alright, now that we have our depot, we can actually hit capital D to see if our depot is accessible to caravans. And it tells us underneath that the depot is accessible. So let's hit escape. And if we hit Q and go over to the depot, we have a couple options. Right now, It says no trader is needed at depot. And we are going to use that when a caravan arrives. We're going to hit R and it's going to change to trader requested at depot, and then we're going to make our trades when he arrives. But for now, we'll leave it at no trader. And then B, only broker may trade. Now if we hit B, it changes it to anyone may trade, but we want the person with the appraiser skill to be trading, and we also want our broker to gain the experience from trades. So we'll leave it at only broker may trade. That about wraps it up for this episode. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.